Hello and welcome to Gradient's weekly roundup of key business and financial developments in Sri Lanka for the week ending 2nd September 2022. I'm Nishani Figuera and here are the top stories for this week. Sri Lanka and IMF reach a staff-level agreement. Interim budget presented as a foundation for change in the country's economic trajectory. Sri Lanka invites Saudi Arabia to set up oil refinery. ADB repurposes $200 million loan to mitigate Sri Lanka's food crisis. August inflation hits another record high. We will also briefly look at other notable news that made it across to our news desk and wrap up with the capital markets update. In our main story this week, Sri Lanka and the IMF reached a preliminary staff-level agreement. IMF made a formal announcement on Thursday, noting that a 4-year deal of $2.9 billion extended fund facility has been reached. It added that reforms include making personal income taxes more progressive and broadening the tax base for corporate income tax and VAT. Further, the program aims to generate a primary surplus of 2.3% by 2024. The agreement is also subject to the approval by IMF management and the executive board and also contingent on the implementation by Sri Lanka of prior actions, as well as receiving financing assurances from its official creditors and making a good faith effort to reach a collaborative agreement with private creditors. On Tuesday, President Ranil Wickremesinghe presented an interim budget for the remainder of 2022. The objective of the budget was noted as to prepare the basic foundation for change in the economic trajectory of the country. The proposals included an increase in VAT to 15% from 12% and tax registration for those over 18. State sector workers over 60 years were asked to retire by the end of the year, and a state enterprise restructuring unit is to be set up. In order to stabilize state banks, the Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank from higher rates and an increase in non-performing loans, 20% of its shareholding is to be allowed for their depositors and staff. Other proposals include an independent national debt management agency. Further allowances for Samurdhi holders, low-income families and pregnant mothers were increased, and farmers' debt of those cultivating under 2 hectares is to be written off. The Asian Development Bank approved $200 million in an emergency assistance loan for Sri Lanka. According to the multilateral lending agency, funds are repurposed from other ongoing ADB projects to improve food security and protect the livelihoods of the poor and vulnerable, especially women and children. On Tuesday, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that Sri Lanka is seeking to boost energy cooperation with Saudi Arabia and has invited the kingdom to set up a refinery in the country. Meanwhile, Kanchana Wijesekara, Minister of Power and Energy, stated that 24 companies from several countries have expressed interest to import and sell fuel in the country. They will be offered CPC's filling stations for a fee and terminal facilities. Inflation in August, as measured by the Colombo Consumer Price Index, reached another record high of 64.3%, up from 60.8% a month earlier. Food inflation increased a staggering 93.7% year over year, whilst prices of the non-food group grew 50.2%. In other news, from Thursday, a revision to water and sewage tariffs took effect. The per-unit usage charge, as well as the monthly service fee for domestic, industrial and commercial users increased. A revision to fuel prices did not take place at the scheduled bi-monthly adjustment date on Thursday. According to the SLTDA, tourist arrivals from the 1st to the 28th of August were 35,381. To date, over 490,000 tourists have visited the country during the year. In a major boost to the industry, the UK government said it no longer advises against all but essential travel to Sri Lanka. This followed France, Switzerland and the Netherlands removing travel restrictions. And now let's take a look at the weekly movement of the All Share Price Index and the S&P SL20 Index at the Colombo Stock Exchange. At the Treasury bill auction held on Wednesday, yields on all-term maturities expanded for the second consecutive week. Of the 96 billion rupees worth of bids, 50 billion rupees were accepted. Here's how the rupee performed against the dollar this week. In other market news, the central bank added the Indian rupee to the list of currencies that are permitted to be used for offshore banking. This addition increased the number of allowed currencies to 16. And that's a wrap for this week. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube for more updates on business and financial developments in Sri Lanka. Until we see you again next week, thank you for watching. Stay safe.